Hello, and welcome to Chapter 8 of my 0% LTC of Justice and Pride. Today is Chapter 8, and it will be done in 10 turns. And we start off with some small preparations. First things first is using Speed Wings and Energy Ring on Donovan. Honestly, I have no real reason for him having not used it the previous chapter, but it wasn't necessary either way to need it for the last chapter, so it worked out anyway. We also buy 2 door keys because this map has a lot of doors, and obviously we can't kill every single enemy holding a door key. So we have 2 objectives, and that is to seize the throne and also recruit a new unit in the top left corner. A mage named Ella, who is not going to be very useful to me, but since this is for recruitment, I have to anyway. We're going to be using, since our lord and as well as the mage's older brother is able to recruit her, we're going to use the older brother since, of course, we want to prioritize Adorn going towards the throne. These first few turns will be, of course, doing some basic rescue strats in order to get everyone as far along as possible. The reason we don't have Kara immediately carry that first turn, actually, is because sometimes Donovan will miss that first hit on the soldier that attacked him, or second hit on the soldier, and while he can kill, sometimes he won't. So here we give Donovan an Iron Lance just so that he doesn't one-shot both of the Myrmidons. We can allow him to with the Steel Lance, but I wanted to feed Melinda another kill since, as I've said before, she needs some EXP. Here Nathaniel gets a necessary crit. There's going to be, I believe only one other necessary crit, but they are overall very important just due to the fact that there's a lot of enemies that in the way, as we'll see later. You may notice that we're actually using a knight of all things in our LTC this chapter, and that is because he actually has 5 move, and he's has C rank in lances, so he's good to fight these fighters that are over near the door. And since we're not really in a rush, it helps a lot. Misha's position on one of the next turns is actually extremely important, because there's going to be a shaman in the top left who is extremely dangerous if kept alive, and we need them dead badly, because otherwise it just all falls apart. Soon, the very dangerous reinforcements will show up. I say very dangerous, but I really just mean that a lot of reinforcements appear to the left of that door, as we'll see right there. And since there's just so many, we need them out of the way very soon. In fact, we'll see a very useful side benefit of sending that team to the left later. I should talk about the chests on this map. There's a silver lance, a angelic robe, a blue gem, and a torch, and I believe a kilobow. The kilobow is the only chest we'll not be getting because obviously it's not too useful to us. Here we heal up Lucas, not because it's 100% necessary, but because he'll be doing several important things. He'll need to be able to take some hits later on, as we'll eventually see. And here we begin to charge through the door. I give the Iron Lance so that I want to deal a good amount of damage to this mercenary, but I also still want to kill the Fighter. But the hit rate against the Fighter goes into the 60s if he's wielding a Steel Lance or something. So the best option is the Iron Lance, which is a good middle ground. The reason why we want a certain amount of damage against the mercenary I mentioned is actually because there's a good way to kill him on this next phase with his remaining health. This was my third attempt, I believe, of recording the chapter. Mostly due to the fact that I was being lazy and not conforming some of the benchmarks of some of the enemies that I really should have. But this time, I did off-screen that I cut out this time, and it all worked out. I also made sure to actually get Misha in the correct position. My failed attempts that took over an hour of my time truly showed just how important actually using your strategies is in an LTC like this. And here we see what I was talking about earlier, where we use the javelin to take care of this mercenary. Also, I should mention that on the next turn, those mercenaries will spawn yet again, so we'll have to deal with them. You may also be wondering why Adorn is just carrying a steel lance. A silver lance, with its two uses, and we'll get to that much later. And here we get to another important reason why we brought Roderick of all people, and that's because of this knight. There's not too many units we have that are very good for fighting against a knight, so he ends up being probably our best option. And here we're going to see that side benefit I mentioned earlier, because this mage is actually in a spot where she can get attacked on the other side of the wall, which allows us to kill the one actually dangerous enemy of these three on player phase before they get a chance to actually harm us. Anisha will take care of the chest at the top, and we'll just use some uses of the chest key we got in an earlier chapter. To get the 2 other chests that we want. We'll also be sending Penny and Jake over with Donovan so that we can make good use of their movement to stay out of enemies' range while still getting to the boss room in time to make this a 10 turn. The rest of this chapter is relatively straightforward. Donovan, of course, as usual, needs to be the one to kill the boss. I should mention that now with those reinforcements out of the way, we'll begin our trek over to the right of the map with Kara and the other 2 as Donovan takes care, gets a vulnerary so that he can, and grabs the Silver Lance so that he can take care of the 2 Cavaliers over here. It's important to note that if it weren't for how the AI is for a lot of these enemies at the top left, this would be a lot more difficult of a chapter, considering that many of them do not move unless you're in their range. There's also plenty of them that move as soon as you open that door, but there's also plenty that just will stay behind. Now that we've recruited Ella, there's actually still one more thing that we're actually going to do with this team, and that's to grab a door key that's on the mercenary to the left. Ideally, we'd actually be able to get a Lance Reaver that's on another mercenary, but that's sadly not so. And here we finally use the Silver Lance for the strategy. Anyway, for this strategy, as you can see, we make use of the 2 remaining uses of the Silver Lance, so that we can do a good amount of damage to the knight, to one knight, and then we can use Adorn's magic to take care of the other, while also grabbing her some EXP. The reason why we actually have him sitting there instead of on the pillow is because he gets 10 bonus percent hit if he's in charisma range of our Lord. Here we actually break this wall with Melinda, just to give her some slight weapon EXP. It's not required by any means, but it's nice to give. Donovan will get a unnecessary critical hit on this second strike, but it should be noted that he only has to hit at least 3 of the 4 strikes he can possibly do in order to make this a 10 turn. Here we see the very unnecessary reinforcements that pop up behind us that we won't even have to worry about at all. Here I just check damage just to see if there was literally anything I could possibly do against the Lance Regal mercenary, but I then remember yet again the only acceptable strategy I had, and just grab the door key as seen. And after grabbing the chest and taking care of the knight who's standing in our way, we seize the throne with Adoran. And that is Chapter 8 completed in, 10 turns. Thank you for watching.